Thousands of amaZulu maidens gathered at Enyokeni Royal Palace for Umkhosi Womhlanga, or the redance. King Misuzulu kaZwelithini addressed the girls this afternoon, and he touched on the scourge of gender-based violence and also sent this condolence to the English monarchy following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. But Professor Musa Xulu from the Heritage Development Trust joins us now, and he was at the celebrations this evening as well, and he will just analyse the King's speech for us and just talk us through what he witnessed today at the reed dance ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. Let's just first talk about, the cultural significance of the reed dance. Many people might not know what the cultural significance is of the reed dance, and what did you experience today? Because I think you did mention earlier when we were off, not on air, that you were at the reed dance a short while ago.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much, and also good evening to everyone and your viewers. It was a great ceremony. I think there must have been an estimated 20,000 maidens there, gathered there today, and plus audiences, etc. You easily come to 25, 30,000 people that came in there, and the spirit was very high. Everyone was excited because we must remember that as a result of COVID-19, there was no ceremony in 2020 and 2021. So it was the first time since 2019. The important thing that happened, okay, let me start with explaining what the significance of the reed dance ceremony is. You see, when you go to the Bible, the story of creation says God created Adam first. The Zulu story of creation says that people came from the reed as a group. Already they had cattle and they were singing the Zulu songs. So this ceremony takes us back to where it is believed we came from when we were created in the beginning. And therefore, it's got some ritualistic elements in it. It's also got some elements of nation building in it. It's also got some elements of focusing on the welfare of especially young maidens, so that they can, because Zulu society, the family structure is founded upon women, and so it's very important that women become strong and well taught, and so on and so on. So it's got all those elements, the ritualistic element as well as social cohesion element in it.
Let's talk about that, because the King, in his speech, he did touch base on gender-based violence and especially young men as well. We know the ceremony is mostly focused on young girls and maidens, as you said. But I think in the society that we live in today, especially in KZN, who is one of the provinces with the highest numbers of GBV and teenage pregnancy as well, it's very important that the King address this, and he did. And he said that him and his wife will be working with young men as well, to encourage them to be better men, but also to respect women and young women, so that, the Zulu nation can, which is a huge part of South Africa, they have these building blocks for young men so that they can also be held responsible in a way when it comes to gender-based violence, and not just, teach young girls to be a certain way, but also teach young men. So it's quite not traditional for the King to do that, but it might be like a new king and a new way forward.
No, definitely. His wife, the Queen Maisela, is very much active in the GBV space in her own right, and she runs 2 non-profit organizations that focus on that. I must also point out, though, that during December, the first fruit ceremony is dedicated to young men. So there is a part in the annual calendar where there is almost complete focus on young men. But of course, maybe it does not get as much attention as this one. That's why you see the killing of the bull by hands and all of those. So there is a place where I think the King wants to revive that as well. But as you could see from the tone of his speech and from the excitement that was there among the maidens and the audience, he is trying to be very modern in his approach and relevant to the issues of the day, rather than talking about what happened in 18 whatever year. He's focusing on the issues of the day, because GBV is terrible in the country. And as the Zulu nation becomes modernized and relevant to the rest of South Africa, it is important that the king talks about the issues that are affecting all South Africans, not just exclusively Zulu people.
Very true, and it is very important that they addressed it, and also the fact that they will be doing more to combat gender-based violence, especially in KZN, of course, the province. But let's talk about the divide in the royal family. I mean, this is definitely something that everybody is still wondering about, because the king did mention unity in the royal family, but can we expect unity very soon, because we know of all these different divides within the family?
Yeah, well, look, those people that are opposing the king have no case against him. So they ran away. They were nowhere to be found today. We were told that they ran away yesterday in the morning, because they knew that there's going to be these tens of thousands of people coming in. Maybe that's the reason why. But the king emphasized that they should come back home and join all of us, because the kingship of King Misuzulu is undisputed. It is gazetted, and all the processes that are prescribed by law have been followed, let alone the cultural aspects of how he was born. So that kingship is undisputed. It is unclear what these others are wanting, but the king was, of course, even telling jokes about them and why he thinks they must come back, and then, of course, join him and even call him brother. And he was calling for them to, he was very, very reconciliatory in his approach to that issue. In terms of, will there be reconciliation in the royal family very soon? I cannot tell so at the moment, because the people that are opposing the king, they know that he is the king. Yesterday, when I spoke to this same station, I mentioned that it looks like there are other issues which have got nothing to do with the throne, and they are emerging every day around the issue of Ingonyama Trust land. The dispute seems to be there and seems to be instigated from outside of the royal family, not within the royal family, but it's a very small minority. You must remember that they do have a history. Every time there's a new king, they do have a history of conflict among themselves. And Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was emphasizing at some stage that when we look at them and we deal with them, we must also look back into the history, how the royal family has always had these disputes whenever there's a new king. It's because maybe of polygamy. Maybe I think that could be the problem, because everybody looks like they look at themselves and they think, oh, we're all equal. There's nothing like that. But the king was very reconciliatory. I'm hoping that they were able to pick up the tone of his speech.
And just very lastly, and very, very briefly for us, the king has, seemed to be coming into his own person. There was a lot of joking at in his speech as well. Yeah. So it does seem like he's a bit more comfortable now.
Very comfortable, and very comfortable. I think what he is realizing is that outside of the Zulu royal family, the Zulu nation is very much in love with the king, very much in love with the king, and they have poured their hearts out. Firstly, when we went on the 20th of August, and then on the 3rd of September, when the first wreath ceremony took place. But today was the biggest. It was the biggest. There has never been numbers as big as they were today, even when the old king was alive. So it was the first time that you had the biggest one. And he is beginning to realize that actually outside of the family problems, the nation is fully behind him, is in love with him. And that is why if you looked at the tone of his speech, as you rightly say, it was full of jokes. It was full of laughter. It was full of cheers, especially from the maidens. And amaButho, the warriors, were on top. And then, of course, his praise singers were all on top. So he can see now that the nation is coming together, but also he can see that he is becoming his own person, not like his father. His father was a traditionalist. This one looks like, because maybe it's because he studied in America and all other countries, the UK, he looks more an internationalist, and he has gotten this other thing of the Zulu brand. The Zulu brand is big, not only in South Africa. It's big, culturally speaking, in many parts of the world. And he seems to be catching that very well in his mind.
Thank you so much. Indeed, some great insights there by Professor Musa Xulu from the Heritage Development Trust, just giving us an update on the King's speech and what he witnessed today at the re-dance ceremony. The King might not have a lot of support within his own family, but it does seem like he has the support of the Zulu nation.